All right. Hey guys, thanks so much for coming. My name is Taylor with Scott Leroy Marketing, and today we're going over the direct mail campaigns section of Command. Feel free as we go to throw any questions you have in the chat. I'm going to do my best to make sure that I answer those as we go along. If we have time at the end of class, I will also revisit any questions that I might have missed. I'm also going to put our email address in the chat for you so that you can take it down if you'd like. That way, if I miss your question or if you think of one later, you can email us so we can make sure to get that answered for you. All right, jumping off here, we're going to sign into Command. So if you're new, that's agent.kw.com. And we're going to sign in. And then once we're here on the main dashboard page, we're actually going to start with updating our marketing profile just to make sure that everything is up to date, because as we create the postcard in the direct mail campaign section, a lot of our information will pull directly from the marketing profile. So under your name in the right-hand corner, we're going to go to settings. And then this is your main integrations page. Under connect settings on the left-hand side is where marketing profile is. And then this is where you can update all of your information. So we have a spot for your headshot with a recommended size. We also have a team logo here. We do recommend filling in this section. So if you're on a team, this is where your logo will go. If you have your own branded logo, you can add that here. If you're not on a team and you don't have a branded logo, you can do what I did and add a generic KW logo or maybe the realtor logo. Just depends on what you'd like, but there is certain sections of Command that will pull this image. And if nothing is here, it will look broken, like something's not working properly. So we do recommend having something in this section. And then you have your details, so first and last name, license number, your team, which usually is your name at the office if you're not on a team. And then you have your other information here, contact information, and then your brokerage specific information. So this will have your specific office's logo and that information here. Then you have your section for compliance. If you're in a state that requires different links, sorry, we are still letting people in from the waiting room, guys. If you're in a state that requires your legal footers to have links in it, you can add a link here. So enter your text that you want it to say, as well as your URL. There is a question in the chat, what do you write for compliance? So this typically for each agent we see each office is independently owned and operated statement. But then the rest of your legal footer and for compliance will actually depend on your office policy and the state that you're in. So for that, we recommend contacting your broker in charge of your office to make sure that everything's compliant. And then you have a section here for social media links. This is more relevant for your website, but it's still here. So we're gonna update it and then save our changes. And once that is updated, just making sure I'm watching the chat. Karen says, how do we know if my state requires a link? That might have come up as I was saying, to reach out to your compliance coordinator for your office, just to make sure everything's compliant. What's wrong if nothing comes up under settings? I'm getting an empty screen. That might be specific for your system. So that you might want to email us so that we can help troubleshoot. But again, under settings, you have your main integrations page, and then connect settings, marketing profile. And then here is where you can make sure all of your information is filled out. The other thing, Charlotte, that I would say is maybe check which web browser you're using. We found that Google Chrome or Firefox work the best with the entire KW platform. Where can we locate the KW logo in Command? So actually, you can locate the logos in My KW. So if you go to your My KW, and then in the middle at the very top is a marketing tab. Then your first section is logos and branding. And then this page will actually let you search for your specific market center. So either the number or by name. And you can download all available KW approved logos. So different color schemes, different transparencies, some white background, some no background color, that kind of thing. You can also have the generic logos downloaded on this page as well, whichever one you want. Okay, Charlotte, sounds good. Our support team will definitely be able to help troubleshoot that. All right, so once we've updated our marketing profile, we're going to go to campaigns. And if you're not familiar yet with each of the applets within Command, you can actually click on the KW in the upper left-hand corner, and that'll pop out the menu name, so you don't have to hover over each of them to figure out what it is. And then this is your main campaigns page, but we're going to focus on direct mail today. So here you'll be able to see how many you've mailed out. So you can change this month to date, year to date, lifetime, the last week, 30 days. And then based on whichever option you choose, you'll be able to see how many people received your postcard, how many leads came from it, and how much money you've spent on those. And then this is your preview down here. So you'll see I have a draft saved. So I never sent it out, but it gives me a preview, title, when I created it. And if I had sent it, this information would be filled out as well. So the date I sent, how many leads came from this one specifically, and how many people received this one specifically. So first thing we recommend is filling out your payment information. That way it's just on file, whether you are working on a direct mail campaign, or a paid ad, it's already on file. And you can add multiple in here as well. So you just add payment method and then fill in all of the information so that the card is saved. There's also a metrics down here, which will actually give you a breakdown of where your money is going, how many leads came from it or clicks, that kind of thing. So if you're ever in a position to see where your money is going in your business, you can actually export this as a spreadsheet for you or any CPA you're working with or that kind of thing. So I think that's pretty cool that you can easily export that data. So I wanted to tell you. All right, so now actually walking through creating it. We're going to create a campaign. And again, today we're going to stick to just direct mail. We have other classes throughout the month that go over these other options for campaigns. And this one, we're going to advertise a listing. So I like to name it with the property address if I'm making it about a specific property. I'm going to advertise listing, and depending on which goal you choose, it'll give you different options when creating the template. So for this one, we're going to choose advertise listing, and you'll see we'll be able to search for the specific listing using KWLS, where if we chose an event awareness or other, depending on what it is, it may not have that ability because it's not goal specific for a property. All right, and create. So now we'll be able to pull that property, and you'll see it defaults to active and only my listings. So if you have an active listing, it should show up here. But if it doesn't, we always recommend switching to all listings. And I'm actually going to search by MLS number. We found that it's more specific in helping to search for the property rather than, sorry for that random hiccup, guys. It sounded a little funny. But we find that searching for MLS is easier than searching for property address because you can have so many overlapping pieces of an address within different cities and states. Where MLS, you're more likely to find the one or two that might have an overlapping number. So once you have your information, or sorry, your listing, you select, and then that's going to, as we start filling in the template, we're going to be able to see that it's pulling that information over here. So we have our listing selected, and now we go to content because that doesn't have a checkbox. So first thing, we're going to select a template. And guys, today I'm going to stick to the templates within Command, within this builder, rather than uploading a custom design, because trying to make sure your design fits these is finicky, and it's entirely dependent on your computer and which system you're using to edit the photo size. So we do have videos on our YouTube channel if you're wanting to, let's say, create a postcard in Designs, download it, and then import it here so that you can send it out. Just because you created in Designs doesn't mean that it's going to actually magically match these height width sizes. Or especially if you use a system outside of Command as well to create that. So for class purposes, I'm going to stick to the pre-made templates, but we do have additional videos and resources for helping you resize that. So if you have questions, again, just email us and we'll get you those resources to help you through that. There's a question in the chat, but it's about emails. Can we send mass emails without sacrificing our email domain? So if you're sending an email, either email campaign or smart plan through command, it will, right now we can only see the agent and then your KWUID numbers at, I think it's mailer.agent.com or something. That's a system built thing. And unfortunately, there's not a way to change that. But in your command settings, you can change your name as it appears as it's being sent, if it needs to be updated, as well as your reply to email address. So when you go to reply, it will actually send any of the responses to whichever email is saved in those settings. All right, so back to these templates, you'll see in this dropdown, you have 4 different options and it gives you the dimensions here. So if you want to send the normal 4x6 postcard, you can select that size. You have 6x9, and then you have 2 different looks for large 6x11s. And you'll see as you select those different templates, the preview will change on the front or the back. Karen, so at the bottom, once we're done creating it, you'll actually see like your budget. You'll be able to set the budget based on how many you're sending and depending on the template, which postage class you have. All right. So once you have the template size that you're wanting, then we'll have listing details. So this should be pulling most of the information from your listing through the KWLS that we selected. So this just gives you a chance to make sure everything matches. And it gives you the option for listing status, just listed, just sold, or coming soon. So you have that option as well. For advertising a listing, it can be just sold. And then you have your description. Again, this is pulling from the, can't think of the word right now, but the description in the MLS that you enter. So as long as, depending on the template that you choose, you have a character limit based on the size. So our whole remarks will be here because we don't reach that character limit. Listing photo. So here you have the option to change, words. Sorry, guys. Select from the listing images that's pulling from the MLS to the KWLS. You'll notice that each of these give a warning of low resolution. You can still select it. And as you do, that will update our preview. All right. So back to Karen's question about the pricing of each one. So when you select your goal and you come into the template, with each size, you can come down here if you really want to test it out and see the price of one at the available postage class, how much that's going to be for each template. So while using this editor, that's the best option I have if you're looking to know the price of sending it out beforehand. I synced my MLS to add the address. For some reason, the address didn't pull up. So yes, like I said, the MLS number is more specific and easily able to be identified rather than pulling that up. Good question, Susan. She said, can we have the printed cards sent to our office so we can mail them? Using this mailer, we're going to get to it, but when you configure targeting, you're actually sending the design to real mailers, and they, based on the targeting, will send them out for you, but you can have a copy sent to yourself so you can see what it looks like. If you're wanting to order create a postcard, but order all of them to come to your office so that you can mail them out, that might be more easily achieved using the designs print marketing and then selecting a postcard size. Karen, I don't know how long it takes to send standard versus first class off the top of my head, but I'm sure if you search on the website for the post office, they can outline that. And as we go through the editing stages, there's going to be more kind of like warnings that might tell us there, so we can look as we go. And then someone else said, I can't advertise the listing because I'm not the listing agent. So if you're technically, like just like my example, the system will not prevent you from creating a mailer to advertise a listing just because you're not the listing agent. However, for compliance, please make sure with your office broker that you're able to and you have the proper permission if this is not your listing. Typically, we see these being done if you're doing an open house for someone else and they allow you to send a targeted postcard to the neighborhood advertising your open house. But again, proper permissions. All right, anyway, back to content. So as we're creating this, making sure that our template has the character limit for the listing photos. Again, you can pull this. This is just going to give you a warning that basically because it's going from the MLS to the KWLS, the quality is being diminished in a way. So they're warning you the photo might not turn out as crisp as it looks online. So if this is your listing, you can also just upload the image directly. I'm going to stick with this and the possibility of a little bit of a blurry image just because that's what I have available. And then your information will pull here from your marketing profile. We've noticed that because your marketing profile has the country label on where your phone number is, it's trying to add the +1 for the US. So that actually alters the phone number. So you will actually want to update that if it pulls in. We get a lot of questions, people like, why is the template pulling in this way? It's because they added the new country section on the phone number in your marketing profile. We don't have a way to stop that. So when you're able to edit it, we definitely recommend doing that. And again, that low resolution image. All right, and now our content is there. All right, the formatting on the back is very messed up on mine. Anyway, to adjust that, unfortunately, because you're using an editor, the way it pulls into the template is not able to be edited. So if you're not liking the way it appears, we recommend maybe choosing a different template because it's all pre-built. And then your market center information. This is pulling most of your information, again, from the marketing profile. However, in your marketing profile, city, state, and zip is one line. So it's only pulling the city. So for these, you're going to want to make sure to enter and then verify the address, confirm. All right, so now we technically have green check marks on all of the sections. For targeting, we're choosing local targeting. So I'm going to select the property address because I want to advertise in that neighborhood. You can also target my database. And if we have time to make another quick one after this, after I show you guys targeting, I'll show you how to do that. It's really easy, but once you have the address in here, save. And then again, budget. If you're looking to stay under a specific number, you can just kind of play with that. Type it in, you can just click. And again, you can select which one you prefer. And once you're satisfied, oh, just kidding, didn't even talk about it. You can add a QR code. So you can easily just toggle on tracking right here. And then you have the option to choose one of your website pages or landing pages that you've created. So maybe you created a specific landing page for this listing and you want to put more information, you want to send anyone that wants more information on this property to that page, you can just select that. And once you have the page selected that you want, it adds a QR code on there for you. And again, switching back and forth, you can see the preview. And you have your information pulling here, office address and the current resident. So this is gonna show current resident and then the address based on our targeting. So once you're satisfied with your template here, we're able to configure targeting. All right, when someone scans the QR code, where do we see the activities? So you'll be able to see on that main dashboard in some of the metrics that show up about leads coming in, you'll be able to see that. If they register on your site for more information, you'll get a notification in command and a contact created with their information based on how they fill it out. And can we choose the addresses of who these are mailed to? Kind of. So that's actually what we're getting into, is the configure targeting. So we're going to hit yes. And because we picked local targeting, this dot represents our address of the listing. It pulls in the number that we selected based on our budget. So you can still update that if you want. There's an estimate down at the bottom. And then here you can start filtering based on who you want this to go to try to maximize the, I guess, the chances of getting leads from it. So all of that is going to be dependent on your market as to like what best practices are. But as you change these, I'm trying to show you that eventually it will spread out. So as you eliminate properties that are highlighted with a blue dot based on your filters, I clearly don't know anything about this neighborhood, guys. There we go. It kind of shifted. So we still have the same amount of mailers, but we're targeting more specific groups. And it just changes. You can select, like you can click and see the property address, a little bit of their stats. So bedroom, square footage, year built, and when and what it last sold for. You have the option to remove. So even though this person fits in, I'm pointing with my finger like you can see me. Even though this person fits within our configuration over here, maybe we know that they don't want this mailer. So we can remove them, and it's going to find the next closest person that fits the qualifications. So our number stays the same. You can see that they still fit within the configuration, but that they're no longer selected to receive this. You'll see if I zoom in, there's some properties here that don't show up. Either we eliminated them based on this information, but if I changed all of this back, I think I saw an example. Doesn't look like I have an obvious example anymore. Dang it. Okay. Pretend that this person should also be getting it. So if this was 53, but this house was skipped and this one was selected, just like people can be entered on a do not call list, their addresses can be on a registry to not receive spam mail. So if they don't show up as an option, you might need to hand deliver that one if you know them, but it will not, real mailers will not send one out. The other thing I want to highlight is there is no way for you to get a report of these addresses. So even though you can see them here, there's not way to, unless people register as a lead with your, how do we know who does not want to receive mailers? They should be on that list if they don't want to receive it. Or if you know someone in the neighborhood, maybe you have 2 listings in that same neighborhood and you don't want to send one a mailer, you can manually remove them. But unless they're on that list, their address is going to qualify. All right, so we always recommend sending a copy to your company address. So this is just going to send it to you as well at the office so that you can see what was actually sent out. And if you want to stay below a certain number, you can always update that up here as well to include your copy. And then again, once this is configured and you're ready for these to go out, you hit next. You get one last preview here, front and back. Your breakdown. And then here is the example of timeframes. So same day processing. If you submit your order before 3 p.m. on a business day, your mailers will go to production that same day in a fulfillment center. Your cards will be inserted into the post office mail stream within 2 days. And then your estimated delivery, it says between 7 to 14 business days. So you definitely want to make sure when you're creating these, let's say you're doing one for an open house, you want to give it time to get there. So you might want to do that, couple weeks in advance, or at least, 1 week, hoping for the 7. Just kind of depends on your preference there. And then your payment information, you can either enter that, or if you already have a card on file, you should be able to populate that. And then once you make a payment, that will send it to Real Mailers for processing, or you can schedule the launch for a later date. So maybe you want to send this through on a Thursday for processing for the next week's open house. Or maybe you're creating a just listed flyer a week or 2 before a house is going live. So you want to set this up to go on a specific date. So you can schedule that or send it right now. There actually isn't a do not mail list that I pull up. Again, when you're configuring, if they're on that list, then their property won't show up as one of your dots to send it to. Just like, sorry, going back, my words are not working, so I want to show you. Make sure all of that is saved again. Green dots, configure targeting. I wonder if I move this, how many will show up? Let's see. I personally removed that one. All right, so like this property right here, I don't have any filters on. So this should fall within the category of receiving one, but if they're on the do not mail list, then their house will not have a dot. We have not seen a way to manually update a property, an address. So if you're trying to target an area, an address in the mountains, and the neighbor don't have a PO box instead, unless that's registered with their house, like it's not going to show up. So that might be an instance where you want to order through the designs postcards and create a similar one if you're going to use this as well. But then if the postcards are sent to you at the office, you can control the address of where it's going and print mailing labels for the PO boxes. Let's say I don't have an actual example. This must be a relatively new neighborhood in my example. So just like I did, if you're wanting to create it, you can save it as a draft here. You can, and then go back in, edit, make sure all of your content loads, configure targeting. From what we've seen, it would say current occupant. It doesn't have names. But then you make sure your targeting is either saved or you update it. And again, you can either schedule this if you know the day that you want it to be processed. And then you don't have to come in and do anything. It's just ready to go and it will be sent through for processing that date. I'm getting a little too click happy, so my preview is not loading. Or if you don't do that before you get to this page, you can just save it as a draft and then do all of this to process a payment when you're ready for it to go out. All right, I am going to breeze through one more pretty quickly to show you the aspect of doing a direct mailer with targeting your database. And we're gonna go maybe event awareness, create campaign, content, select my template. Pretend all of my information is there. Upload a photo. I actually have one saved right here. Again, update your information. Your phone number populates a little funny. Market center. Verify the address for our check mark. Then targeting. Again, you can enter local targeting. So for an event, this might be surrounding your office if you're hosting an event there and you want to invite the neighbors. But for this example, I'm going to select target my database, and now you can add contacts. So you'll see any issues, you'll get a warning. So this contact has no primary or mailing address on file in my contacts. So I'm not able to select a mailer to go to them. That way I'm not paying for a mailer that doesn't go anywhere. Same with Joe Bob Smith. Needs a valid zip code in the address. So if I know that, I can go in and enter that so that he shows up for receiving a mailer. But then valid address on file, I can select it. You can search for specific people, either by name, address, or neighborhood. So if you have a large database and you want to send it to all of your contacts in a specific neighborhood, you can search for that. You can also filter by any tags you've made. So maybe every time you have a closed deal, you tag someone as buyer or seller or tenant or whatever. You can actually select a tag based on what you use, and then any contact with that tag will show up that you can then select all for everyone with a valid address, and then add to campaign. And now you have a set number of contacts this is going to. Your budget, your quantity is already set. So you'll just make sure, depending on the template that you chose, which postage class you want. And then preview and payment, because you already have addresses selected from your database. There is no configure targeting or filtering that way because you've already selected who this is going to. And then once that loads, you'll have your preview, same thing. You have your order summary, and then your option to put a payment in. Okay, we're just going to pretend that loaded. And then once you process that, you'll be able to see, it'll say processing. And then once it's done, it'll say mailed. And that's when you'll see the date sent, any leads. So anyone that scanned a QR code and registered on one of your pages will show up as a lead. And anyone that does that, you'll get a notification that says you have a new site registration or contact form submitted on your website, depending on where you have the page set to go. And then you'll also see how many people received this mailer. All right, guys, I know I went through that pretty quickly, at least the second one. I'm going to basically give you guys back about 7 minutes of your day. Um, thank you guys so much for coming on this Thursday. I hope you guys again have if you have any questions, I'm going to put our email in the chat again for you so you can take it down. We'd be happy to troubleshoot your system, answer any questions that come up, send any resources if you have specific questions on how to do something. We're happy to help, so just feel free to email us. I hope you guys have a great rest of your Thursday, and we'll be seeing you next time.